I'm going to open the meeting for the Wakefield Conservation Commission for May 21st, 2024. The first item is to do a roll call. I'll read off the names. Paul,
Here.
Haley,
Here.
Ken,
Here.
Eleanor. Eleanor's not here. Okay, and oops, someone came in. And me. Do you want to, first thing we're going to do is approve the minutes. I think we have a bunch of them to do. Is that correct? Judy? Judy here? Yeah.
Yeah, there are three meetings to approve. The April 2nd, April 16th, and May 7th.
Okay. Has anyone have any comments on any of those minutes? Not as, does someone want to make a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor? Paul?
I'll vote yes for the April 2nd. I guess actually I was here for all, except the May 7th. I was not here for that. So I'll vote yes on the April minutes.
Okay, so Haley,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Ellen is still not here. And me. Okay, I guess that's the best we're gonna do with that for now. The first item on the agenda is 50 Corner Power Parkway. And Brian, you're involved in this.
I am, Mr. Chair. It's okay for me to proceed?
I'm sorry, what?
Can I proceed?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Attorney Brian McGreal here on behalf of Capasoli Development. The prospective purchaser, 50 Quantipowered Parkway. John Ogren is either on or he'll be joining momentarily. His Zoom is updating, so he should be logging on any second. But in any event, I think the commission is probably aware of the zoning bylaw amendment that recently passed at town meeting that allows the possibility for a self-storage facility at 50 Quantipowered Parkway. As part of the planning and design process for this project, we need to perform some investigative subsurface testing on the site, which is normal for any project, and it's in the form of borings and test holes. We made a commitment to work cooperatively with the Conservation Commission and the Board of Appeals and others during the planning, permitting, and development process of a self-storage facility at 50 Quantipowered Parkway. And that's why we're here before you at such an early stage. We want to keep you involved in not only the permitting, but really kind of the planning process for this project as it evolves. I'm going to share my screen if that's okay, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
So this shows the site, and we've marked out the borings that we want to do. As you can see, and I think you're aware that the proposed building is towards the rear of the property, and we're looking to do some borings in the building area, and then we're looking to do some test holes on other locations. The purpose of the borings is to determine necessary engineering design standards to support the building when constructed. And the purpose of the test holes is standard, and it's really to ascertain soil profiling and determine groundwater levels related to stormwater management and control design standards for the entire property. After meeting on site in 2020 with commissioners and your peer review consultant, Peter Fletcher, who has a long history at this site, which some of the board members recall, and I'm sure Elaine does. It is clear that all of the proposed investigative testing is well outside of any wetland or resource area. All disturbed areas caused by the testing, we put back to their prior condition. Being committed to working with your commission on this project, as I've mentioned, we did not want to conduct any disturbance work on the property, as some people do, with it before coming to you to let you know what we wanted to do and why, to answer any questions that you might have, and to make sure you're okay with us proceeding as we're looking to do. Again, we want to be in sync with everybody, and quite frankly, I should say, in other words, we want to start on a good foot. We don't want to start with an enforcement order by going out there without communicating with you and doing anything that you would think is not proper. So with that said, Mr. Chair, we're happy to answer any questions that the commission might have, and we're hoping to get your blessing to move forward to do this testing.
Elaine, do you have anything you want to add to that? Can you hear us? Oh, I gotta unmute. You gotta unmute.
I think she's trying.
Oh, I think you got it, Elaine. Can you hear us,
Yeah.
Elaine?
Yes, I
Okay.
can.
So is there anything that you want to add? Hello?
Who, me? No, no, I'm fine, thank you.
Brian, quick question. Do you know what kind of equipment's going in there? Do you know what kind of a rig? Are they tracked rigs? Are they wheeled rigs? Excavators?
Yeah, so John, I think John has joined, and
Yeah, it would be a well, at least for the test hole portion of it. I don't really know about the boring rig, but for the test hole part of it, it would be, a rubber tired backhoe.
Anyone else have any questions?
I just have a quick one. How large do you expect your test pits to be? What dimensions?
it's gonna be a 2.5 wide bucket, Elaine. And, we're probably gonna hit groundwater pretty quick. John says conservatively, the most he's ever really had to go is 10 feet. So it could have to go that deep, but I doubt we'll get there here.
So it would be 10 feet deep by approximately, assuming with groundwater, by about how long?
John?
I mean, it's typically, a rule of thumb is the length of that test pit would be about the whatever the depth is. Obviously when they
10
take
by
the
10.
first, yeah, so it'll be 10 feet long, but it'll be basically a bucket wide.
So it'd be, okay, 2.5 by 10 by 10.
Right, but most likely it'll not be the 10 feet in length, just because it won't be necessary to go that deep.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Jimmy, quick question for you. We were out there a long time ago, right? And
Yes.
are those locations on the western limit of the proposed building? Was that kind of a wet, soft
yeah.
area? Or
Yes,
were there any wet, soft areas, I guess, to look out for?
The northwest side you're talking about now?
The western limit of the proposed 5-story building. I'm just wondering if there's any kind of
Right in this area, just so I can.
Yeah, was that? I know there was a weird transition there we were looking at for
Yes,
quite a while.
yes.
I just don't remember if it was kind of wet.
It went up, remember it went up kind of steep and then leveled out, it was like a little plateau,
Okay,
what I remember anyways.
okay.
Yeah, so you're concerned that you're gonna just mess up the whole grass, I guess?
I didn't know if they were going to sink in and cause a ruts or a mess,
Yeah.
but I think it was a little softer beyond that. You're right about that elevation rise.
Would putting boards down to drive over help with that?
I
Well,
think if it's an issue, if it's wet.
yeah, I mean, I think, if the machines couldn't get in there, they'd do something else because, they don't want to get stuck in there either. And the areas they're showing for the test pits, are up high. They're on the high part of the of that, area. Like, from that wetland line, it goes up steep to that other 25-foot offset line, and then it flattens out again. So, I feel comfortable with the locations they picked. Does
Can I
anyone
ask-
else have-
Yeah, on, it's a little blurry, but I think it's test hole 4 and 3, those locations there. Is that close enough to that area where you're talking about the pocket park, to get some accurate soil information to know what kind of plants might do good there?
I think so. I mean,
Right,
you know,
I think that's
when we
right.
deal with the pocket park, we're gonna have a landscape architect that is gonna look at, you know, any plantings and make recommendations. And I think also as part of that, there might be some rain gardens, and we want to work with the Conservation Commission. Because I think, you know, this is only for testing, but we anticipate, and it was discussed on this site back in 2020 that I think the commission at that time, Jim, you might recall, really wanted some wetlands enhancement plants and stuff planted in here.
Yeah, Yeah.
So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of open communication on this, Haley, on what could be planted there and what should be planted in the pocket park area that's gonna be over here.
Okay, thank you. I know we're far away from that point,
Yeah.
but,
No, but it's on our radar.
Great.
So
and when we do get there, I'd love to explore the possibility of a little food forest in that spot. I think that would be nice.
for wildlife habitat.
I'll put something together and we can just discuss it further, but like,
I didn't know if it was a food for me walking the lake or for animals.
could be anything.
Food cart.
Depends on how hungry you are.
Yeah.
Brian, just a quick question. I might have, I had a little background noise earlier when you explained this, but what's the difference between the test hole and then the orange circles that are at the corner and the center of the building? Like, what's the difference in, I guess, depth?
Yeah.
And how large? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good question. John, you're probably more experienced and appropriate to answer that if you could.
Yeah, I mean, typically borings are used more to look at the soils in terms of suitability for supporting, you know, a structure. And they're basically trying to investigate and determine how deep you know, load bearing material is. In the test holes, we're looking more for the soil profile, and we're also looking more for indications of groundwater. You know, one things you won't get with a boring is you do a boring, you're not going to see weeping into the hole. You're not going to be able to identify that. If you dig a test hole, you can see if there's water starting to come in at some certain level in that test hole.
John, part of the question was how big the boring is. So what might be the diameter approximately of that?
Like a 6 to 8 inch core.
Okay. I think I heard bucket before, and I'm picturing a bucket like this. I wasn't,
It's almost like a drill rig, right, John?
like a big bucket for the test hole. Is that what you were saying before?
Yeah, no, it's a drill rig. What I was talking about bucket was I was talking about the bucket on like a backhoe.
Okay.
The backhoe would dig the test holes.
Yeah,
and
this
the
will be a
boring
Eleanor,
are
it
those
just
Got
showed
it.
circles, yeah.
Thank
just-
you. Thank you. Yeah, I know this is probably very elementary, but thank you for explaining it.
Oh.
That's helpful.
Right, I wasn't part of the commission when you did when you came before them in 2020. Just for my own understanding, you seem to be intruding with parking and with little bit of the building into the 25-foot buffer. And I'm curious as to, given that the site's a blank slate for you, why that might be.
So I can touch on that. Jim, you're part of the history here, so if I misspeak,
Well,
please.
well,
correct.
I think those kind of questions that you're asking, Paul, are gonna come up and once they file with us.
Okay,
we're trying to do right now is
Just
they're
simply,
trying to tell us where they
Yeah.
want their borings and and they're asking if we have an issue.
and I'm fine with that. I don't have an issue with the borings. It's just that if we start down the road with borings in specific locations and test pits in specific locations,
Mhm.
just want to make sure we're not locked into a design that has to be this way because of that.
Okay,
That's all.
yep, okay. Um, is there any other questions? Okay, so this is really, Elaine, we should have you, where is Elaine?
She's on.
Is she here?
She's on and muted, Jim.
Oh, okay. Um,
Yep.
we should have her write something up and just say that we're in agreement with this plan that we have in front of us, or something to that extent. I guess it would be a fair thing to do at this point. I don't
We
know.
concur with the approach proposed by the proponents.
Oh, there we go. Elaine, did you get that? Oh, I can't see her anymore either. You're muted, Elaine.
It looks like she was trying to say yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes, I got that. Thank you. I'm unmuted and I got it. I got it.
Okay. Okay, so I think that's all you're interested in right now, Brian, is that correct?
Yeah, and we'll keep, and we're, with your blessing, we want to keep you informed as we proceed here. So,
Okay.
We'll let you know what we find and we want to, we want to be involved with your commission early, even before the filing stage as much as possible.
Okay,
We'll keep you informed. So,
that sounds good. Yep.
So before we go, Brian, I don't know if I have a copy of that plan you put on the screen, but if not, could you send it to the office?
I'll
I can
email it to you
use it
right
as
now. Yep,
All right, thanks. I'll use that as the basis for the letter.
great. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll see you. Thank you, John.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess the next hearing has been postponed again, so that brings us down to other business, I believe. I guess we're interested in having a discussion about the agent position. I know Judy sent us some information on that. Judy, is there anything that you want to say about it?
You have to make the decisions tonight if you want to post it tomorrow.
Okay.
I
Were
sent around Eleanor's comments.
Okay. You
The
wanna
highlighted bits that you had on the document I last saw, is that added?
On Eleanor's, yes.
I tried to work in those pieces that she highlighted, but it could probably be trimmed down if they want to keep it concise.
I know before too, we were talking about the exempt versus non-exempt stuff. What exactly is the difference there? And do we decide that, or is that just automatically decided by the town?
I think the town kind of decided it. One is hourly and one is salary. So I think hourly will be fine.
Okay.
Has just, I mean, no, it's a little bit off track, but has there been any more applications?
No, because it's still listed as part-time. So they'll post the full-time tomorrow, as long as you're all set with the comments.
Okay. Everyone's all set with those comments?
I think it looks great.
Well,
Okay.
it's kind of messy. It probably needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah, she'll take care of that.
Okay.
Okay, so basically we're in agreement that what we have in front of us is gonna work, correct?
Yes,
I don't think we don't need to take a vote on this, right?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay, the next item is Beaver Management Plan.
Do we have a date for Board of Health?
It's their June meeting, which I think is the third Thursday in June.
Do we have any more comments concerning this, the Beaver Management Plan?
I'm putting together a couple of ideas to see what you guys want to do with that. And there was a woman at the Board of Health meeting who runs a wildlife rescue in Chelmsford. And I
Okay.
reached out to her to see if she'd be in part of the speaker series, but I haven't heard back yet.
Oh, okay. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
It sounds like a checklist would be helpful. You know, like, I'm not sure if both departments are clear on what has to happen, or, you know, like when I read through those forms, it was hard for me to tell that that they related to the same incident. Because
Right.
one, you know, so I think, I don't know how we could propose some sort of continuity, but if there's a complaint, that there's a checklist that goes through and we make sure, you know, site visit check, photos check.
Yeah,
Maybe that's a discussion with the
Yeah.
health department, but perhaps we could propose a list.
Well, I think that could be rolled into the policy, the beaver management policy. And
Okay.
part of that could definitely say, you'll recommend a joint site visit with the commission and the Board of Health.
yeah. Is
Because I think that's an important part, having a site visit before the emergency order is discussed. Because sometimes DPW will get calls. So I think if there's a policy, it would streamline the communication process
Mhm.
and get everyone on the same page.
okay.
Would it make
Yeah.
sense for us to go into that Board of Health meeting with a rough draft of what those guidelines and checklists might look like?
Well, that's right. I figured I'd pull it together for the next meeting. And then you'd have it in
you.
time for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, it's important. I think from what I see with the states giving us, it's important to monitor these wetlands that are the beavers are affecting, because you want to make sure that if they do build a dam, that it's not going to go higher than the norm for that area. So there is, I think there's stuff in here that would really help to make out a checklist, actually.
Well, I
So
think part of it should also be ongoing monitoring. I mean, there are certain spots, like the one that came up last time, where it has been a problem
Yeah.
before.
Yeah,
Monitoring the area every 6 months just to take a
Yeah.
look, see what the water
Right.
level is,
right.
and document that and have pictures of it. So we could have a database and then see where remediation could be done, or better education of abutters, things like that.
Okay, I like that idea.
Judy, is there a way we can get a list of emergency orders that have been done over the years, so we can actually, I guess, document if there are other problem areas?
I'd have to go through the files because there are only a couple that are on the electronic file, but I can go through the paper files and.
How many have we had to?
What's that?
How many have we had?
I don't know, because not all of them are captured on the electronic file.
Okay.
And
So-
don't the emergency orders have to be filed with the state? Like, is there a portal or something to check? Does anybody know?
I don't think there's a portal for that.
So we just fill out a form and nothing happens to it?
Well, I don't know if there's a portal that you can do a lookup, like with the notice of
Okay.
consent.
Okay.
How far back do our electronic records go? Like, is there a certain date cutoff, like a year or something?
I had scanned a ton of them probably 4 or 5 years ago when I was working in conservation. So, and part of the problem is the plans are too large, most of them. So some of them are partial files, but anything we have back to as soon as the commission actually became a commission, is virtually everything is in the electronic file. Some files are completely missing. And some of the there are a couple of RDAs and like the emergency orders, the enforcement orders. I don't know if they're scanned in.
Do we have vendors that the town uses for these? Because we could also track it down that way, just to see how much we've spent over the years to, you know, to see if there's a case for pursuing other remediation methods.
I think the problem comes in when there is pushback from abutters, if they're getting flooded, if their yards are flooded. That's why I think there's a clearer policy, because it's pretty clear in the state guidance that, I mean, if you live adjacent to a river and you have bordering land subject to flooding, you have to expect some water on your property. Not all the time. And certainly this could have been an emergency case where, you know, the culvert was blocked and it was more water. But I think there also needs to be a tipping point between whether it's a knee-jerk reaction to go out and immediately take the beavers out, or if there's a slowdown to see, can we try to lower the water level, you know, like they did, they cleared the culvert and then there weren't any problems. And Bill said there hadn't been complaints for the last several years. So is it an accumulation of larger storm events that was flushing more debris down the river, which could definitely be. It could have just been a perfect storm where there was beaver activity, there was excess debris that was washed downstream. So in this case, I mean, luckily the water level was too high, so they couldn't trap any. And they cleared the culvert, everything seemed fine.
Okay, so now that the emergency order has expired, nobody is going after the beavers now?
They can't without the they're
Okay.
outside the trapping season, so they'd have to get a permit.
Okay, no, that just makes me uneasy if conibear traps are out, you know, in undisclosed locations.
That requires a trapping permit if you use that.
Okay. Well, how else do they get them?
They have just cage traps.
Judy, did Bill Renault file anything with us to tell us that they'd done that culvert clearing? This is frankly the first I've heard of it.
I don't know. I think there may have been email correspondence, maybe with Elaine. But I think that's part of the problem. It's kind of a fragmented.
Yeah,
I think it needs to be a more formalized process. It's a
agree.
little, you know, it's kind of a casual process at this point that I think should be tightened up.
No, and it's helpful to have like, oh, culvert was unclogged and the issue was resolved and
That would have been enough.
that's it. Yeah. And then if the issue comes up 3 years from now, you look back at that record, oh, that's how we dealt with it and it was fine.
Mhm.
Hopefully it's not a knee-jerk reaction. Then-
Right.
And I think part of it is the commission taking on the lead role in it, where they are the permitting authority and directing the work rather than getting it kind of after the fact. You know, so I think if there were a different process where there were, you know, joint site visits, things like that, I think it would have been a smoother process.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
Nope, that sounds good.
I think I like the checklist type of approach. It sounds like it might be an easy thing to do. All right, so Judy, you're working on that then as well, I guess, huh?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else want to be said about this? No? Okay. Invasive plant removal. We're gonna have a discussion on that. Eleanor, I see that you talked to Bill. And how did that go?
Oh, I have not talked to him yet. You meant today?
Today, who talked to Bill about?
I don't think anybody has yet. I brought it up at the last meeting.
Okay.
I mean, I have been concerned, well, I do think the town, like we need an invasive management policy. I
Yeah.
have been concerned, looking at the work done around the lake, of the intrusion of new invasives like knotweed that are suddenly making an appearance where work has recently been done and there's disturbed land. So I think it's critical to get a jump on that and, come up with a plan for dealing with that prior to the fall. But also working with engineering and just understanding what their approach is. I think Judy had sent a invasive species management plan for, I think it was work around Wakefield.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah, that talked about like applying glyphosate in June to the, I'm going to blank on it.
Buckthorn.
Thank you, buckthorn. And I know it's not effective to do it then. Like it's better to wait to the fall when it's sending, it's basically concentrating its energy back into the roots. And then there's a very specific approach. So I think partnering with them to make sure that they're doing kind of best practice, I guess is my thought. And I don't know if Elaine has any other thoughts, but I just feel like traditional landscaping approaches just aren't really the best approach here. And we're risking spreading around some of these invasives to new areas, particularly with the knotweed, if we just go in and start cutting everything down in June.
I've spoken with Dennis Fazio about this. Dennis Fazio works for the DPW and manages the commons. And it's been his thought that if with repeated cutting, the knotweed would starve out its own roots. So that's the last we got from Dennis, because we've spoken to him about it. I've spoken to him about it in a couple of other locations in town, one of which would be up by the Maple Way Playground.
Mhm.
So he keeps trying to just keep mowing them, thinking that they will eventually die off because they're just not getting enough sunshine to feed the roots. So that's where he stands on it.
But
Well, I mean, sorry. I mean,
Sorry,
that's
go on.
one method, but do we know what is happening after they're cutting, what they're doing with what they're cutting off?
I think he's just there. I think he just mows it and leaves it.
and it creates new knotweed
Exactly.
and it's spread around. That's where I'm a little worried. And then that area I emailed you guys about earlier, that's the stretch of steep bank in between the tennis courts and the the wildflower area near the old cemetery. That has been cleared away completely. And now it's, sunny, whereas it had been all kind of thickety. But there's knotweed coming in with the planting. So it means they're being spread, through the equipment probably. So is it possible to invite Dennis to a meeting or maybe that's another speaker series that we have an invasive species person.
That's what I was going to suggest as well. If maybe we can talk about working into the speaker series, someone who could give us some knowledge and some tips on knotweed and invasives.
That's fine. I think the town management of it is, I think that's a difficult challenge, because there's no way they're going to have the time, to take care of it the way that needs to be done, or, work around different plants. I think that's just going to go around in circles.
So
I totally understand what you're saying, but they also understand that it's adding more time and more work to keep going and doing this when they keep spreading more, and then they have more areas to then go take care of. Like they're putting themselves in a circle there.
But it doesn't create if they just keep mowing it down, it doesn't create more because it's in the same spots. They're not creating more work for themselves. But I think it's not a simple solution, is
Yeah.
a bigger issue than,
Well, maybe it's a case to make about potentially outsourcing specific areas to a specialist or to, you know, a volunteer group. There are definitely groups that do this kind of thing, and perhaps we could get one going with the proper training.
I mean, I don't know how outsourcing would work, because I think that wouldn't be cost effective. A volunteer, I mean, if you can find a volunteer group, that might be helpful. I just don't know. I don't know how a long-term volunteer group would work, because it would have to be a long-term process.
Mhm.
And what area, would you start with? And I think it needs more thought, I think.
Yeah, I think it's, you pick strategic areas where we can make a difference and see how it goes. There are definitely people who would be committed to that. Jim, you mentioned there was somebody who helped the,
Yeah, Elaine knows who it is. Elaine, who was it that helped at the head of the lake?
I don't know. Who was it that helped the head of the lake?
Oh, behind the Lord Wakefield?
Yeah. I forget her name.
Oh,
I don't-
Ann McMenemy. Ann
Yeah,
McMenemy.
I don't know that she's doing it anymore.
I can give her a call.
But that was that wasn't knotweed. That was more invasive shrubs. So I think that's a different conversation. And that was a very
But-
concentrated area.
She must know something about it.
I would think, it's worth a call. I would contact Ann, because knotweed is in a lot of towns becoming the issue of the moment. So the work she did behind the Lord Wakefield was part of a landscaping plan that she was hired for. But Ann McMenemy is a good idea. I'll give her a call, ask her what she knows about knotweed, and see what she can do, see if she has any information for us.
Did they have to address knotweed at that area behind the Lord Wakefield? Do you know?
No, not at the time. No, it
Okay.
wasn't there then.
Okay.
yeah, it's one of those things that if you don't address, it really has a cascading effect on the lake. There are rivers up in Vermont that you can't fish anymore because the knotweed has just knocked out, all the native vegetation and all the, insects that support the fish and the whole ecosystem.
Right, but where it's a Class A water body as well, that might be a different consideration when you're talking about how to treat the knotweed. So the lake may not be the best place to start, I don't think.
There's another patch at the Maple Way Playground.
Yeah.
Isn't that where the trees are gonna be planted, though? Where the town is doing the remediation, they're planting that grove of trees right back there?
I do not know, but if they are disturbing with planting trees, they're going to have even a bigger problem. I think it might behoove us to get a map, find out where our biggest patches are, try experimenting on various patches, see what works, see how well it works, and based on that information, see where we go from there. I know Lexington they hire somebody in the summer, then all that person does, they hire 2 people, let's go around and knock back knotweed. So let me see what I can find out from Lexington.
Don't they also have a volunteer group that's been working along the Minuteman Bikeway?
I don't know. I haven't heard.
They
I-
have one
I
in
bicycled
Arlington.
past that patch, which is why I know it's there.
Yeah, the one in Arlington, they've been working on, I think it's since 2005. And it has, I mean, it's made somewhat of a dent, but I
It
mean.
made a dent right there, and on either
long-term-
side of it, the knotweed has grown in thicker than ever.
But I
It's,
think you have to think about cost as well, if you're
Yeah.
going to
yeah, I agree.
consult with someone. I mean, that has to be considered before you choose a place.
I'm happy to research that one further
Okay,
or help you,
And I think you
Elaine.
need to be mindful that once you try it in one area, there's going to be a long list of people who want it done in their area. So you'll have to figure out what the answer is going to be when every area can't be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm thinking of, figuring out what's the best practice, what's the best approach, and then probably enlist, and maybe you pay a consultant for that part. I'm not sure. There's plenty of research out there. And then assemble volunteer groups that can, teams that will stay on top of a particular patch, and we can document it and see how it goes. I think it's a good education opportunity.
mhm.
But then what department would oversee the volunteers? I mean, it would have to be.
Conservation.
Who
Well, you
though?
know, these are all things that you're talking about that you need to put together in some type of a package that makes sense so that we can, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of talking, but we gotta,
Yeah.
and a lot of good points are brought up, but you have to organize these points and see if we can come up with a plan. You know, if we want to do it, I mean, unless it's something that's, I don't know, beyond our means, I don't know. Is it something we're gonna look for to the town for a budget to do, or
I
don't even,
think really
I
it
don't
would,
even know the cost to do this kind of stuff. I mean, it does take some research to figure this out.
Yeah. I think in the long run, it will save the town money if they're not spreading around knotweed,
Mhm.
by cutting it and introducing it to new areas that containing it is the best approach to start.
Yeah.
But I'll work on something and see if I can generate some interest with volunteers.
Eleanor, do you have my package on knotweed management?
Did you send it around earlier?
I might have sent it around in the information package I send ahead of the meetings. If not, I can send it again, just to you and maybe to Haley.
If you sent it the last meeting, I should have it and I'll download it.
Let me know.
Okay.
I collected a certain amount of information. Every time I see something on it, I put it in that file. So if you don't have it, let me know and I can send it around again. Actually, I would send it around to everybody, but
Okay.
let me know. And if you don't have it, I'll send it around again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there anything else we want to say on that topic? Or I'm gonna move on to the next item.
Is there someone here to discuss something other than what's on the agenda?
I see, yeah, maybe you want to,
Yes, my name is Krishna Kumar. I'm the owner of 17 Butler Avenue. We did a work there for conservation. I got the order of conditions, and
yeah,
the job is complete. I'm in the process of selling it. I'm not able to reach anyone in conservation to get the compliance. I am on a time crunch. I was wondering if the commission can help me with that.
Can I answer this one? That would be
Yeah.
me, Elaine Vreeland, and I simply was out last week. So I did not have a chance to get back to your emails, and the reason you can't reach me is I'm only in on Friday afternoons. So it's 17 Butler Avenue. You have an order of conditions and you're looking for a certificate of compliance?
Yes.
And is there an email in the inbox that that I could reference?
Yes.
Okay, then I will be in on Friday. When I come in on Friday, I can take a look at it and tell you what you will need. Are you selling your house? What's your closing date?
It is going to be happening on this Friday, but I'm not 100% sure how you might be able to help, but I just still wanted to try.
Okay, I'll be in on Friday. And can you give me your name and telephone number again, just in case I can give you a call on the phone and I don't want this to get lost. I'm sorry, it's just one person working 5 hours a week now. And if I take a week off, there's a 2-week gap. So can you give me your name and telephone number, please?
Yeah, my name is Chris, Krish. And then my number is 781
Yep.
789 6953.
KRISH 781-789-6953. All
Yeah.
right, I will make sure that that's the first thing I do when I get to the office on Friday. Oh, no, I can't. I'll look at it. I'll be sure and look for it on Friday.
Okay, if you can
Get
get
back
back
to you
to
on
me on
Friday.
this earlier, I would really appreciate it.
I'll see what I can do. I'll see if I can go in before Friday, although I can't guarantee it. But I will certainly give it the highest priority I can.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Speaker series. Choose dates for Matt Byrne.
Do you want to do them over the summer or do you want to wait until the fall? I wanted to get it here so I could ask.
Well, people are gonna be coming up on vacations.
Right.
shortly, right? I don't know, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
Idea from them of what their availability is looking like?
Yeah,
Yeah, they had said May was good.
they said May.
Well, they said May was the earliest. So
Oh.
really the earliest would be summer. But
what
maybe
if we-
summer, I mean, that's the thing with vacations. But I didn't want this to fall
Yeah.
away.
Are we talking about doing this as part of the meetings or
No, it would be a separate,
separate series?
yeah, separate.
Why couldn't we just get one of them right now and then get, I mean, the vernal pool, Matt Burns is very good with the vernal pools. He wrote
Yeah,
that.
I've
book
attended
on
his
'em.
webinar before. He does a good job. But I
Yeah.
wanted to get a few lined up because then all of a sudden it'll be fall and then we won't do
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Well,
I'll reach out to them and see what time, what days they have, and then I'll get back to you. How about that?
that sounds like a plan.
Sounds fair.
Yeah.
Over the year is nice,
Okay.
but I'm flexible.
'Cause they wouldn't be long, you know,
Yeah.
an hour, maybe 2 hours.
No, they are interesting. We had the daylight, was it daylight, what was that
Oh,
one?
the night skies.
Night sky, that's what it was.
Because the
That was-
biomap is one of them, and that's free.
That was very good. They were really good.
The night sky, yeah. Was a good
I
one.
can go out there. Okay, Bronwyn, I see you're here. Is there something you want to say to us or something we want to talk about? Maybe she's not here. Okay, I'm at the end of the agenda for tonight. Is there anything anyone wants to say or?
I guess just thinking about how we can help Judy and Elaine and sort of divide things up. I know there are people who email the commission periodically. It's, with a complaint or something, it's nice to be able to say, hey, we looked into that and there's no issue.
The commission has their own email that Haley's been looking at. If you want to take
Okay.
that over, I don't think she'd mind.
I would happily transfer if someone wants to be checking that email.
Well, I guess it's what we do. It's not just checking it, but do we respond to these people? Do we investigate? Do we close the loop or communicate with them?
I always do. I always
Okay.
get back to everybody. I never leave any email unaddressed.
Okay.
Yeah, anything that seems to have an outstanding question, I usually try to forward to everyone. And then usually, yeah, either Elaine or Rebecca has jumped in and been like, oh, here's the answer. I think.
But
I
there
think
could
the
be
only
stuff
thing we
that
had
you
to
guys
really
could
get
answer
back-
too. So
What's
it's-
that?
There could be stuff that you guys could answer as well, so it would be a quicker response.
Yeah, I have when they're simpler things like that, but when they involve like, oh, we're looking for certain files or more complex questions is when I
Yeah,
really have to punt. The thing that we haven't really addressed, the only one that we haven't is about like what's happening in the back of Keith's tree and that whole area.
Oh, that's on my to-do list. I just haven't
No,
had,
okay.
you know, with 5 to 10 hours a week, you take a week off and, you know, you just, things pile up. But Keith's tree is on my to-do list. I'm going to have to talk to Keith and ask him to file a notice of intent with a management plan.
Yeah,
And that was not a complaint against you, Elaine, or anyone.
No, I know that. I just feel badly. But I'm aware of Keith's tree and I have to contact Keith and tell him to file a note, hire somebody and file a notice of intent for management of the work there, so close to the river.
okay.
Yeah. And then I guess, yeah, I guess anytime you need help and you think some of us could tackle something or do legwork, let us know. It's probably a good learning opportunity.
Sure, thank
For
you
me,
very much.
certainly.
Okay, I will.
I'm sure I'll just come back to you, but
That's okay. That's okay.
to give it a go.
Okay, is there anything else? Is Bronwyn there? Is Bronwyn there? Okay.
How are your
Um,
owls, Jimmy?
What's that?
How are the owls doing?
I haven't seen them. I was looking today. It was all quiet.
Jimmy, I had one, I was walking at my front stairs yesterday and it flew right over me, a barred owl.
Get
I
out.
think it left from your house and came to my house.
Yeah, you're taking my wildlife.
Yep.
Now, they're taking their life in their hands, heading for your place.
Hey, not my fault.
Yeah. All right, so I guess,
Can I throw one more thing at you?
yes, you can.
Just, I think I mentioned it earlier, but maybe asking Dennis and Bill, or I don't know what the right group is to just look at the work that's being done around the lake and just,
Why don't we hook you up with Dennis?
okay,
I can go too if you want,
yeah,
and we'll talk about that.
yeah, just make sure it's what everybody kind of expects, you know, it's not like painting a room, you know, I understand they might have a plan, but it just sometimes things come out a little differently and they're different expectations.
Yeah.
So it'd be good to kind of close
Yeah.
the gap and just see if there are any takeaways or, you know, things we could improve going forward if they do more work like that around the lake.
Do you have certain areas that you'd want to pick up first?
Well, I just want to understand what's going on along that steep bank in between the tennis courts and the cemetery. Like I don't know if it was an invasive species removal plan or
It was.
Isn't that what it was?
There's
I
a
thought-
superseding order on that, and the invasive management plan was a requirement.
Right.
Oh, I guess the thing you sent looks like it was closer to the
There's
to
the
the boat
pollinator
launch.
garden, and then there's that.
Okay, but I guess, is that typical when there's an invasive species removal plan? You just get rid of everything, including the native stuff?
Well, I think it would be hard for them to work around the natives.
Okay,
If they hire a company to come in to clear the area, they would have to have someone out there pointing them out and then trying to dig around. I mean, I don't know that that's reasonable to expect.
but I guess I thought you're ideally supposed to leave those areas intact.
But if they're planting around, you know, if it were a straight strip, it's one thing.
Mhm.
But if they were invasives, you know, intertwined with them or aside them, I don't know that it's reasonable to expect that they're gonna, you know, plant around, excavate around certain areas.
Well, you know what? If we talk to Dennis, he can explain to
Yeah,
us where
yeah.
the problems are and why you can't do certain things, and maybe we'll
Yeah.
I
better.
think you
understand
should have a plan of. I think you may want to have a plan before you go in, what you'd like to see around the lake.
Yeah, I guess I just want to when there's invasive species removal, is there a plan of what's going to go right there? Because I wasn't expecting them to clear right to the water's edge. Like,
Mhm.
are they going to stick grass right near? Like, that doesn't seem appropriate.
There's a plan attached with it that says what the plantings will be.
Yeah,
And
that's,
there's a whole
Okay.
planting plan.
Okay, I wasn't seeing that. I was seeing just the pollinator garden near for
Yeah,
the,
there's a pollinator garden is a little further down.
okay, can I maybe call you later and maybe I'm just missing it in the attachments?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. That's it.
that's it.
Mhm.
Okay. And we gonna close the meeting, or everyone's all set?
Yep.
So can I have a motion to close the hearing?
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, same thing, I guess. All in favor? I get my list here somewhere. Paul,
Yes.
Haley,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Eleanor,
Yes.
and I'm in agreement as well. Okay,
Thank you. Good night.
Thank
good night,
you.
everyone.
Good night, all. Thank you.